It all started with a curiosity I couldn't ignore, an anomaly on our Wi-Fi. A late-night scroll through the new network app revealed something that didn't fit, an Android device. Odd, since Cindy and I only used Apple products. At first, I dismissed it as a neighbor who'd cracked our password, so I updated the credentials and moved on. But days later, it was back. Then came the unsettling coincidence. The device would vanish from the network whenever Cindy left for work and reappear like clockwork when she returned. Suspicion gnawed at me, compelling me to dig deeper. I searched her car, rummaged through her purse, nothing. But that night, as she showered, I found the device hidden away in her gym bag. I couldn't unlock it then and returned it, waiting for the right moment. The next opportunity came and went, the phone was gone again. She was careful, too careful. When I finally recovered it, this time tucked inside her briefcase, I didn't hesitate. I took it straight to a tech repair shop, my desperation laid bare to the technician. It was impossible to lie, my face betrayed me. Mercifully, he didn't ask questions. An hour later, he handed me a thumb drive containing everything, photos, messages, a damning record of 2 affairs spanning 9 months. As I sat at my desk, the weight of 6 years of marriage crumbled around me. Panic gripped my chest. I stared at the screen, unable to process the graphic texts and intimate photos. It wasn't just betrayal, it was a grotesque mockery of the life we'd built together. My world narrowed to the cold glow of the monitor until, at last, the panic subsided. When Cindy came home, her nervous energy was palpable. She paced, searching for something, her burner phone. I asked if she was okay, feigning innocence. Her excuse? Lost work papers. I offered to help, knowing full well what she was looking for. When she wasn't expecting it, I pulled out the phone. Is this what you're looking for? Her expression said it all, deer in headlights, panic barely concealed beneath a thin veneer of denial. I asked if she was cheating. She denied it, of course. Then unlock it, I challenged, watching her squirm. She tried flipping the blame, accusing me of invading her privacy. Her reaction was all the confirmation I needed. I handed the phone back, my voice trembling. Your reaction says it all. Tears came, unbidden, and as they fell, so did her defenses. Cindy crumbled, admitting to just one mistake, claiming guilt had ended it. I pulled out my tablet, showing her the truth, the messages, the photos. Only once? I asked, my voice hollow. She could only mutter apologies, desperate to convince me to stay, to fix what she'd shattered. I need space, I told her, my voice barely audible. A separation was non-negotiable while I sorted through the chaos in my mind. She pleaded, but I stood firm. Questions spilled out of me. Who were they? Where did it happen? What did you do with them that you've never done with me? She broke, begging me to stop. That night, she left to stay with her sister. The silence in the house was deafening, but my resolve hardened. The next day, I saw a lawyer. Armed with the evidence, we began drafting the paperwork. Cindy's first affair partner had a wife, and she deserved to know. I met her in person, handing over a thumb drive. Her devastation mirrored my own, but she thanked me through her tears. She wouldn't confront him until she had legal ammunition. Later, I confided in Cindy's sister, the one who had recently endured her own husband's infidelity. Her face twisted in anger and sadness as she read through the texts. I had no idea, she whispered, apologizing on Cindy's behalf. I knew she'd confront her sibling soon enough. When Cindy returned to the house to collect her things, her demeanor had softened. She said all the right things, professing love and remorse. It wasn't about us, she insisted. It wasn't about you. But I couldn't unsee the texts. I couldn't forget the images. She wanted reconciliation, therapy, anything to salvage what was left. But for me, the decision had already been made. Trust was the bedrock of a marriage, and ours had been obliterated. As she walked out the door, I knew this was the beginning of the end. For now, my focus is on moving forward, divorce filings, doctor's visits, tying up loose ends. And maybe one day, rebuilding the firewall around my heart. The air felt heavier now, each breath a reminder of the weight of betrayal that had unraveled his world. Their intimacy? Surprisingly frequent and fiery, 4 to 5 times a week, with her initiating half the time. Yet, it wasn't enough. Not for her. She craved something else, something beyond the boundaries of their vows. The allure of attention from others, the thrill of being desired by strangers. It wasn't about him, she claimed it never was. Now, she was offering therapy, a search for answers, for the root of her restless desires. A promise to be better for him, to change, to rebuild. But could change erase betrayal? Her desperation led her to propose a path he could never walk, an open marriage. Explore, she offered, date others, even the score. But he refused. The thought was alien, a stark contradiction to the life he envisioned. She asked if he was ready for her to return, even just to sleep in the spare bedroom. His answer was calm but resolute, not yet. He didn't tell her about the divorce papers, signed and set into motion. She'd know soon enough. The counselor they were set to see on Wednesday? Cancelled. What was the point when their perspectives on love were galaxies apart? She'd spun her narrative, but now the truth, ugly and raw, was unraveling. Her sister had confronted her, peeling back the mask. Her parents were angry, the illusion shattered. Even their friends had approached him, urging him to reconsider, to forgive. But they didn't know the whole story. He showed them the evidence, messages, pictures, timelines. Their embarrassment was palpable, their apology swift. Misinformed, misled by her carefully curated version of events. She'd spun tales, omitting the damning details, hoping to paint herself as misunderstood, not unfaithful. The community had thoughts. "You're modeling strength," one voice chimed in. "Self-respect is rare. Stay the course, she'll move on to someone else soon enough." Another called out her deception, noting how she'd never revealed her true self. A third reminded him, her eagerness for therapy now? Convenient. Where was that energy before she cheated? Each comment echoed his own thoughts. The lies, the minimizing, the self-serving motives, it wasn't about him. It was about her. Her comfort. Her image. Her needs. Even now, her gestures of reconciliation felt hollow. Therapy wasn't a lifeline for their marriage, it was a stage for her redemption arc. When the papers finally reached her, after 3 attempts, her reaction was as expected. Anger. Frustration. Her call came an hour later, her voice trembling. He wondered what she'd done in that time. Reached out to her affair partner? Realized the precariousness of her situation? She begged for another chance, but he stood firm. The power dynamic had shifted. He asked her point blank, "When you started cheating, did you ever think about what would happen if you got caught? Isn't that why you got a second phone?" Her excuses felt rehearsed. Her promises, empty. Yet, he agreed to counseling, not to reconcile, but to extract the truth. Answers he needed to finally close this chapter. The voices in the community grew louder. Her lover can't afford her lifestyle. That's why she wants to stay, someone suggested. If she truly wanted to make amends, she'd give you the full truth, said another. A timeline, a polygraph, anything to prove her sincerity. But no! Her actions revealed her true intentions, preserving her comfort, not repairing his shattered trust. He remained steadfast. This wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about playing along. It was about reclaiming himself, his dignity, his future. And as the dust settled, one thing became clear, her broken promises would not define him. 18 years ago, I was in your shoes. Back then, my lying, cheating ex-wife's affair partner couldn't even afford her. She was, and still is, greedy, selfish, and utterly materialistic. 3 months after she uprooted her life to chase after him, he dumped her like yesterday's news. Desperate, she tried crawling back to me. But that was a hard, resounding no. She didn't want me, she wanted the lifestyle I provided. But me? I wanted someone who actually wanted me. So, I made it clear, we weren't getting back together. Our path was set, divorce. Here's the truth, friend, cheaters lie, they minimize, and they spin tales to save face. But now? She's finally facing the consequences of her choices while I reclaim my power. It's like marriage was the tutorial on power dynamics, and divorce court became the ultimate final exam. Still navigating the mess? Counseling, though grueling, can be an advanced lesson in how to grin and bear it until the gavel falls. Meanwhile, I had my own extracurricular activity, serving karma with a side of flair. After work today, I stopped by a quiet downtown restaurant. With the dinner rush still a while off, I grabbed a seat at the bar and ordered a drink. The bartender, friendly and attentive, became my unwitting confidant. I told him everything, how my wife had been cheating for a year, not with one, but two men. I spilled the details. The first guy was married, and I had met with his wife, handed her all the evidence, and let her decide his fate. Turns out, she was gearing up to serve him divorce papers when he least expected it. The bartender leaned in, intrigued. "What about the second guy?" he asked. "Oh, he's single," I said, swirling my drink. "I haven't decided what to do about him yet. But let's just say, I believe in karma, and I'm not afraid to give it a nudge if necessary." We laughed, sharing that unspoken bond of knowing justice has a way of finding its mark. Then, as I handed over my credit card to settle up, the moment came. The bartender froze, his eyes darting from the card to me. He handed me my receipt, tight-lipped. Smiling, I delivered my parting shot. "Give my regards to Cindy, my wife. See you around, Kevin." I've never savored a drink more in my life. There's nothing quite like dropping a truth bomb before walking out, leaving Kevin with a frozen grin and a cocktail of dread. Revenge on the rocks? Perfection. And the saga continues. The wife of affair partner number one wasted no time. She blindsided him with divorce papers last week. Meanwhile, I confronted affair partner number two at his workplace, just to let him know I knew everything. I even dropped my favorite John Wick-esque line, "See you soon." A mere 2 days later, karma played its hand. He got fired. No, I didn't lift a finger, but it was poetic, wasn't it? I've been tidying up my life too. Credit cards canceled, bank accounts untangled, and my soon-to-be ex-wife has been thoroughly iced out of my social circle. Over the weekend, she was notably absent from a friend's birthday party and was uninvited from our annual Memorial Day barbecue. Actions meet consequences. But the cherry on top? Our couple's counseling session yesterday. She walked in guns blazing, accusing me of ruining her affair partners' lives. I calmly pointed out that Kevin's job loss had nothing to do with me, though I didn't feel the slightest sympathy for either of them. When I pressed her about how she knew all this, she deflected, claiming they reached out to her. Suspicious? Absolutely. I asked to see her phone. She refused. So, I stood up and said, "Guess we're done here." The therapist tried to mediate, but I wasn't backing down. I laid my cards on the table. "Why did you cheat? How did you meet them?" Her response was a well-rehearsed sob story I didn't bother dignifying with belief. Then came her plea. Through crocodile tears, she begged for reconciliation, even suggesting she move back in. I wasn't swayed. Instead, I presented my conditions, a list of 5 non-negotiables, including full disclosure of the affair, an apology posted to social media tagging both men, and a commitment to therapy after the divorce was finalized. She balked at some terms but eventually posted the confession online. Her attorney reached out to mine the next day. Progress. This week, we met with the lawyers to finalize the settlement. I walked away with the house while assuming $111,000 of debt, a trade-off I could live with. She's pushing to move back in, but I'm holding firm. First, I need more time and personal therapy. And so, the player got played. Karma, sweet and swift, orchestrated its symphony. Divorce papers, social media confessions, and shattered facades, justice served with a twist. Cheers to life's little victories.